So, welcome everyone to our Young Leaders Group Spotlight Series interview, where we are going through our LA YLG membership and highlighting our members that are part of committees on YLG or ULI district level and asking them about their career and how being a part of YLG and ULI as a whole has help them and give you a little bit more insight on ways to get involved and what you can get out of when you are involved in ULI. So today we have Mr. John Hilliard with us. And I'd love it if you could start off by introducing yourself, your job title, who you work for, and list your involvement in ULI and YLG.
Absolutely. Thank you, Violet. Hi, everybody. As Violet said, my name's John Hilliard. I'm part of the business development team at Arup. It's a multidisciplinary planning, engineering, and advisory firm. I've been involved in YLG for close to 3 years now. And I assumed the role of communications chair last July.
Excellent. So, since it's a common thing for Angelenos to be displaced from other countries and cities and states of origin, I just want to start out by asking, where are you from and what brought you to Los Angeles and how long have you been in LA?
Absolutely. So I am from London, born and raised. I moved to LA in January of 2017. I was a product of Brexit. I tend to focus on commercial real estate in my role in my business development activities. And there was an opportunity to come out here and really focus on that market. Just after the UK decided to leave the European Union. And that seemed like fate. So I jumped on it and never looked back, really.
Nice. Yeah, that's an exciting way to end up over here. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's one of the few good things for me that came out of Brexit. So I'm very happy to be here.
Good to know. So obviously we are doing this virtually, whereas usually be in person. But due to COVID-19 and the pandemic and just doing the social distancing, we brought it online virtually. So to address the elephant in the room, what does your day-to-day look like working in the real estate industry in LA and doing it virtually and kind of taking in all the changes that are happening in the industry?
So there are multiple sides to that, and I'll start with the general kind of day to day. Office, like working from the office, I think will change irrevocably, and my work life certainly has. First, from a flexibility standpoint, there is no need to be up at 6 a.m. to make your bus to get to the office to get there for 9. So it gives you a bit more time to kind of get up and start your day. Plan things out. You can plan your breaks a bit more flexibly. I live with my girlfriend here, so obviously we have to plan around each other. We drove each other a little crazy in that first week because we both heavily rely on calls and meetings to get our jobs done. So we've had to find different ways of working. I ended up buying and putting together a desk. And I basically moved that around the house because I can't always sit in a dark corner. But, sometimes I get access to my living room like today. So, it's taught me to be a lot more agile, I think. And then from a kind of technical standpoint, the way we've had to communicate in what has typically been a digitally challenged industry, I would say, there's been a kind of forced evolution. And my role relies on having a strong network and being able to communicate with others, and I've had to change the way I do that. I think the fact that we live our lives in meetings and via email means that you need to find new ways to reach out to kind of check in on people and have conversations with clients. And so, I've relied a lot more on social media. I've relied a lot more on text and kind of off hours calls, so that I'm not further clogging somebody's inbox or adding yet another meeting to an already busy day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, especially with networking and just keeping up your connections in the industry, it kind of is stark to realize that I was like, wait, I had interest in someone, like at the beginning of March. I'm like, I was always going to check in with them, but we were going to meet at an event and I was going to do it then. And then now it's all just totally different. And you don't want to lose that momentum from beforehand, but it's finding new ways to continue those relationships and that networking within the industry, which thankfully moves us on to our next question, which is talking about how are groups like ULI and YLG, like how are we communicating during this virus, and especially from someone with experience in communications, like how has the status quo changed now that everyone's moving to more webinar style and like conference calls and video call meetings?
So I think it comes back to the fact that we as an industry have not been particularly strong digitally until fairly recently. ULI has always had fantastic online programs, and I usually dial into their webinars. But seeing how they're coming at this crisis and introducing free programming and free webinars to where previously that would have been a paid program, I think is a great investment in our industry. At the YLG level, I think for what we've managed to do in the past year in communications and grow our membership, I think this will be another step as we move into online programming too. And I'm really excited to be a part of that journey from the communication standpoint. I think it's long overdue, and I would encourage everybody to engage your companies and challenge them on what they're doing in social media. And you can use ULI as kind of a shining example of that, I think.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, kind of going back to the roots of getting involved and becoming part of the communications committee and then leading it, what really inspired you to take on that role to, raise your hand and join a committee and then eventually lead a committee and take on that leadership quality? And how has that helped you in your professional career?
As somebody moving to a new city, no, in fact, a new country, and someone who relies on a strong network to do their job day to day, ULI has been transformative for me. It gives you a direct gateway into so many different facets of the real estate industry, and it opened my eyes to how real estate works in the US, because it's an entirely different market, literally. From the way land acquisition and entitlements works, through to development drivers, and even the types of players that are in the industry. ULI was very welcoming to me when I first got here, which is important. I was probably 3 months in when I went to my first meeting, so I didn't have a particularly big friend group. I wasn't particularly well networked, but I was welcomed with open arms, and that, seeing the drive that people like Emma had. I mean, I met Emma my first day. I think she was chair of the programs committee then, but um, you know, she people like Emma inspire you to get involved and be proactive. And when an opportunity came up to use my technical skill set to further the mission of YLG, I couldn't really say no. I was actually in Texas at the time, and I sent a very hurried email to Andrew Persons and Mark Navarro saying, "Look, I'm back in 3 weeks, but I'd love to talk to you about this." And the rest is history. In terms of how it's helped my professional development, again, the networking is is fantastic. I think there's an opportunity to connect with the types of real estate folks that you're looking for throughout the program, whether you're looking at planners, land economists, developers, or technical consultants like Arup. There's a space for everybody, and there's an easy way to navigate into that space. And then in terms of my own skills, I've never had to rely on digital marketing and social media much, just because of the nature of business development and marketing in the professional services industry, and particularly in the built environment, up until very recently. But it's taught me to look at customer interaction in a different way, and it gives you a bit more insight into, I think, it sounds so corporate, but the humans behind the suits.
Yeah.
Because you get to know their likes and dislikes a little better once you get to know them via social media. So, it's taught me to think differently about how I interact with people personally and professionally. And I think as a growing professional, that's an incredibly important skill.
Yeah, no, I agree. It reminds me of, I was speaking to someone in business development for a general contractor, and they were trying to merge into the LA urban market. And the thing is, it's so relationship based, and knowing who, a developer is, or like having those connections, but then also knowing what their ethos and their company is about is still, like you said, a little underwater in the real estate industry. And so it's great that I think we're transitioning to a more vocal standpoint to not only talk about the projects and the deals and the portfolio, but also to talk about the work ethic and what sets you apart as a consultant or a developer or an architect. So I definitely see that in the YLG group specifically, that it's emerging.
And I'm always amazed that in a city where, as you said, everyone's from everywhere. How deep-seated some of the relationships are here. It's such an interesting exercise to look at the relationships across real estate and where everybody's come from, where they're going, and how small, but at the same time, how large the real estate pool is here.
Right, exactly. And I mean, because of that, there's obviously numerous organizations, not only geared towards young professionals in the real estate industry, but also just in LA and real estate itself. So is there anything that strikes you as unique about ULI or YLG that you haven't been able to find in other industry organizations?
That is a fantastic question. And what has always struck me that's different about ULI is that it's in the name. It's urban land, right? It's not a development forum, or a kind of local networking mixer, both of which have their place and are critical in any market. But ULI is so far reaching. I would say it is impossible to not find a way to engage. If somebody told me I can't find a group for me in ULI, my response would be, you're not looking hard enough.
Yeah.
Because we have everything from sustainable development through to high-rise construction, planning and entitlements. There are so many different arms and legs within ULI. I would say there must be something for everybody if you have any kind of interest in land use or real estate. And there are few organizations that I could say that about.
Right. No, that's absolutely true. I've definitely found the same thing. So then a little bit more about YLG and communications, because I know that sometimes we get new members to ULI LA, and maybe they don't realize what YLG is all about. Or maybe we get a new friend or coworker who comes along to a YLG meeting, but they don't really see kind of like the whole ecosystem of what's going on, because it's just endless committees at some point, which is how you get involved, but it's also hard to communicate that. So coming from a place of leadership in the communications committee for YLG, what is so appealing about this committee and what makes it better than the other committees?
I mean, communications committee is obviously the best committee. There is no doubt about that, because we're in charge of the social media accounts and our content has been awesome. But that aside, I think what strikes me about communications in YLG and communications more generally is you get to see the entire journey of a member over time, more so than perhaps you do in other committees, or that I've seen from other committees. So we deal with the first inquiry, the visit to the website, the first monthly meeting that they come to, you know, and the kind of the slow interest and engagement that comes from that. I've found that to be the most interesting and rewarding part of being involved in communications, is finding new ways to help people become a part of the organization and find their place. Whether it's the update to the website that we did in late of last year, the overhaul and growth of our social media accounts, which for those who are unaware, Violet has been incredibly diligent and a true partner to me in helping drive that process. So thank you.
Thank you for the leadership.
that was a huge thing for me coming in, and to see that come to fruition and see the results that come from it, even the way that people are engaging during COVID and responding to our Instagram stories, that really warms my heart. So I would say that, you know, seeing our efforts sort of brought to bear when people come to that first meeting and they introduce themselves and they say, "Oh, you're John, or you're Violet. Oh, you know, thank you so much, you know, for emailing me back and forth on a Tuesday at lunchtime when you probably were incredibly busy, but you know, here we are and we're so excited to be engaged." I think that's why communications is awesome.
I agree. It is very exciting being at the ground level of a new member or someone who's just looking into it.
Absolutely.
Cool. All right. So now some more fun questions for everyone. So obviously with the working from home, what are like your top tips, your must have, like what's been getting you through the day?
So confession, I have watched the entirety of Breaking Bad in the past 2 weeks. Work breaks and structure are pivotal. The first few days I really burned myself out because I didn't establish when work is supposed to stop. So if you have nothing else, you can give yourself structure. You know, start your day. You don't have to start your day as soon as you get up. Give yourself time to get breakfast, have a cup of coffee, plan a lunch break, plan an afternoon walk, although not today. You know, and stop at 5 or 6 if you can, and enjoy your evening. I think separation of workspaces and living spaces is important. I try not to work on my laptop on the couch or on the bed too much, because it's important to be able to step away even when your desk is 3 feet from your TV. And then good TV shows, really good TV shows. We've done Breaking Bad, El Camino, and now I'm on to Better Call Saul. So I'm really catching up with the Walter White series.
Yeah, I was gonna say you need to watch Better Call Saul now, because I'm watching the live season that's coming out and it's just like phenomenal. So
he was my favorite character in the in Breaking Bad, so I was glad he got a spin-off.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And Mike, having Mike in there is just It's great.
Oh, one other thing I would say is it's really important to either know how to cook or learn how to cook. Um, I'm very fortunate. My girlfriend is a chronic stress baker, so we have never had so much good bread in the house. Um, but I bought I bought a book about making cocktails last year and hadn't really looked into it. And now we're trying to kind of have night. We made pizza the other night, made cocktails a couple of weeks ago. Um, Finding new ways to entertain yourself and maybe spend that money that you would have spent at a bar or doing something else, to kind of keep that sense of normalcy. So it's not just work, TV, bed, ad nauseum.
Right. No, exactly. I have to say, I did try crafting my own margarita at home, and it was not nearly as good as a takeout margarita from Casa Fina and Boyle Heights. So,
Oh, make no mistake. I tried to make a whiskey cocktail. It looked like dirty water, but it's the
yeah,
thought
I
that
think
counts.
there needs to be some kind of YLG mixology class as a happy hour.
I mean that was what I was going to propose when we get back to business as usual. If we get back to business as usual, we'll see how the world's changed in a couple of months' time. But YLG programs will
Perfect.
continue, and mixology could be a good one.
Love it. I'm all about it. So speaking of, food and drink, I love the baking, but whenever you venture out to support a local business in your area, like, is there anyone you want to highlight or, what have you been eating, takeout, delivery, groceries, what's been your method so far?
Um, I feel like asking me about my diet might be a personal attack at this stage, but you
No
know,
pressure, no pressure.
so we've been kind of committing to supporting one local restaurant that's still open every week. So I live in Culver City. For those that don't know, many of the businesses in Culver City are suffering because the cost of retail real estate here is astronomical. Um, so we try and eat from one every week. So this week, I think it's going to be Father's Office tomorrow. But we've done nishi poke and ramen. We've done meet and greet. Uh, just any local business that is offering takeout. Um, we will get once a week, just to kind of invest. Um, I try to go to mini marts instead of supermarkets. Um, just if I don't need a big grocery shop, um, just because those businesses will struggle in these times because their produce is more expensive and they're slightly less commoditized.
Hmm.
So you're unlikely to find everything that you would find in a Trader Joe's or a Ralph's. But I try and use those where I can to kind of keep them going because I think they're very good for economic development, even at a small scale. Having small mom and pop businesses like that. So um, just trying to use those as much as I can.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, so that's pretty much it from my end. If you have any other final remarks.
Just that I miss everybody in YLG. I look forward to my third Tuesday every month, hanging out with you guys over at Westfield. Um, we do have that monthly meeting coming up, and it will be online. It will be a huge test of our digital resiliency, but I am confident that we are going to make it a great success. Please bring drinks with you if you would like to drink, so we can still have our happy hour afterwards. Um, and thank you everybody for being a part of YLG. If you're not yet as involved as you could be, or you're trying to find out more about the organization, please do send us an email, ylglacommunications@gmail.com, or you can add me, John Hilliard, on LinkedIn and send me a private message, and I'll loop you into the right people. But thank you, Violet, for setting this up.
Of course. Thank you, John, for being interviewed and sharing all your wisdom. It's much appreciated, and hope you have fun getting
Wisdom,
back to your work from home.
wisdom is a very strong word, but as Emma Thompson said in a recent movie, I hope I've earned the privilege of your time.
Oh, love it.
Good. Except I can't remember the name of the movie. Late Night. That was it. Okay.
Nailed it. Nailed it.
And after sharing that guilty pleasure, I think I'm done here. But
Sounds good.
awesome. All right. Thank you very much.
Yep. Sounds good. And you like stop the recording, and
Yeah.
I think I can see it on